Hi, I'm Dakota Staples,
And I'm Sonia Staples
and we represent Black People Off-Road.
in Staples and Tents. And a few years ago, we started camping, off-roading, which led to overlanding. And we started Staples and Tents to really show our friends and our families positive images of other Black people outside and help erase the stereotype that we don't dwell in these spaces. Fortunately, we've had a lot of good experiences outside, but we have had a couple of experiences where we really felt unsafe.
Yeah, and the most recent one was 2020, right during the week that George Floyd was killed. We had gone to this small area in Alabama called Eva, to a hip camp that was private property, but had majestic views and was just absolutely beautiful. And we decided we would book about 4 or 5 days out there to just unwind and take a break from being socially isolated from our family and friends.
Exactly. And for the most part, we had an amazing time. It was beautiful. It was peaceful. We had an opportunity to de-stress from COVID. But there were a few instances where people came onto the property that's clearly marked with a chain and no trespassing signs. The first couple times, we could clearly tell that the people meant no harm. But the last time, we were just left with the feeling of unsafety and insecurity.
Yeah, uneasiness, to say the least. It was probably around sunset. And again, George Floyd had just been killed, and we were sort of unaware of it, but we were starting to receive a lot of phone calls from my family and our friends asking if we were okay, and we didn't really understand what was going on. Well, out in the distance, we could hear a side-by-side in the hills, but we didn't know whether it was on the property that we were at or somewhere nearby until we saw the lights. And at that moment when the lights crested the hill, I started making moves to go over to my truck to get my firearm because, again, this is private property. It's been clearly marked, no trespassing, and specifically marked that if the chain was up, that it meant that the property had a guest on it and to not trespass. So we knew that we should be there alone. And when the side-by-side showed up, there were 2 men, 2 women inside of it, and they just stared at us. And they
didn't say anything.
And not a word. And
didn't say anything.
It felt like an eternity. And we didn't understand what was going on. And it had these bright lights. And then all of a sudden, they just leave. And we were immediately uneasy and decided that we should call the property owner. And we called, and she asked whether or not she should call the police to come out there. And we were like, absolutely not. We did not feel safe or comfortable adding an additional layer of uncertainty, as well as a possibility of being misunderstood. So now we are stuck on a mountain, on the side of a cliff, and we don't know if the people that had just come here meant us harm. And it really changed the dynamic about how we felt safe and secure in this outdoor space. And it completely changed the moment or the mood that we had about our security and what we were going to do for the rest of the night, whether we should even stay or wait and leave in the morning. And throughout the entire night, there were shotguns being fired throughout the valley. And we had no idea of even understanding what that meant. So all of that to say that these outdoor spaces
they create so many triggers.
These outdoor spaces that create so many triggers don't feel safe for us. And the things that should be relaxing and enjoyable moments
and bring peace,
and healing, don't necessarily come to be that way. And it's very unfortunate, and we really want to change the dialogue and make it where people, wherever they go, they do feel safe to be in these spaces.
Yeah.